Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dawg, and I've got another spectacular show for you today. Welcome to the Dog Pound. Today we're going to talk about conferences, live in-person conferences. Here we are, just a couple days after the end of Digital Dealer, Tampa, Florida, the first wholly live concert in quite a concert. Listen to me, conference in quite a while. So I've got some experts in the studio with me today. The queen of BDC, Miss Bobby Herring.
Hello there.
This woman has held every executive position in a retail automobile dealership. She's the real deal. She'll go toe-to-toe with anybody, anywhere. My friend, Bobby Herring.
Thank you.
From the Highline used car world, I'm going to talk about a guy that's selling 100,000, 200,000. Yeah, this guy's selling some real Highline used car, independent dealer. This guy is the expert of the experts, my friend, Patrick O'Brien.
Hello, Jim and Bobby. I'm excited to talk about conferences, knowing that I met you guys, Jim, through your conferences. So we'll dig into that as we go. Thank you for having me again.
And who could ever, the queen of queens, my friend, Jennifer Briggs. You talk about an executive manager.
Round of applause.
Yay! Hey, so good to be here again this week. I am so excited to talk about this topic. I didn't go to Digital Dealer, sort of. So I think, because it was half and half. It was like half virtual, half in person. Right. I had some business down in St. Pete, so I popped over on the very last day and said hello to some folks. But I'm so excited to talk about this.
Oh, I'm telling you. I was in the conference business most of my career. I did 26 internet battle plans, 3 sales manager super conferences, over 100 sales manager and F&I seminars. So I can pretty well say that I have been there, done that, got the plaque. And, at the end of 2019, when I did the last internet battle plan, every one of you was there.
Yes.
You saw we had 250 attendees, 20 speakers, 20 sponsors. We were rocking and rolling.
Yeah, I presented at that conference on taking a internet lead and treating it like Wife It Up instead of a one-night stand as related to online dating. It was my presentation that time.
Yep, it was fantastic. I mean, some of the best speakers in our industry today got their jump off they got their start in my internet battle plans. Yep. But then 4 days after internet battle plan, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I beat cancer. I spit in the devil's face.
Another round of applause.
That's right. Right.
I spit in the devil's face, almost died 3 times. What happened? COVID shows up. And the conference business died.
Yep. I
mean, everybody was trying to do virtual conferences and they failed miserably. Virtual conferences didn't. NADA was a total bomb. I mean, it just, nobody was wishing them that they would fail, but it was a total failure.
Yeah, we're a group of people who get distracted. We have to be present.
And I was going to say,
right.
I'm usually really good at staying on task, and I didn't sign up for virtual NADA, but I did do a couple of continuing education type. I had one that was a trainer's conference, how to better lead and teach your teams. And even me, who's really good at staying on task, I couldn't. I meant to go to so many. Bobby, you remember how excited I was about that conference?
You talked me into signing up, and then I skipped it.
Dude, I mean, I was blown away that they were so they wanted to do these virtual ones. A lot of the conferences, most of them, people are day 1, they're dialed in. Day 2, day 3, they kind of.
Well, and the nice part about that is that you're off-site and you can focus. It is mainly a networking thing. It is great to be able to learn, but I think that was one of the best lessons Bobby taught me at conferences is you learn through the connections that you make.
Right.
And virtually you can't connect with anyone. So I feel like that's 70% of the value in a conference is those conversations that it creates.
It does. It creates lifelong relationships, believe it or not. I mean, and one thing that came about with COVID, it wiped out the conference business, but it wiped out the last couple years I was in the conference business. Every fraud, every failure, every jerkwad in the car business started their own seminars and their own conferences. I mean, we were getting all these stupid conferences for people that were failures. I mean, it was just awful. Everybody that had a couple of Facebook credentials, all of a sudden they quit the car. I'm going to do conferences. I quit it. It was awful. So it wiped out
with the car business. I'm just going to tell everybody else in the car business how to do it.
Exactly. So it wiped out all the frauds. Now I'm sure the frauds will be back. But
even really great speakers failed at it during the virtual series because of that. And then also when you sign up for something virtually, there is most of the time when you miss it, you're sent the webinar later, right? So for me, I signed up for a lot of things, and then I didn't attend live. I watched and learned when it was convenient for me instead of. But Jennifer's right. When you don't have those side conversations, there's not a next level. And a speaker can't teach anybody how to do anything in 1 hour. They can only give you the ideas and the bullet points, and then those conversations take it to the next place.
Right. I would say, at the conferences, most of the networking doesn't even happen at the event. It happens at the parties. It happens at the restaurants. It happens after the event, maybe at the cocktail hour.
Sometimes it happens in the hallway.
Sometimes it happens in the hallway.
Right. Sometimes it happens when the place catches on fire and a smoke alarm goes off.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Kramer is in the house.
Thanks for joining us.
I was struggling with technology.
That's okay.
With technology, you need to attend a conference.
That's okay because Bobby is struggling with recuperating from being at Digital Dealer last week.
Digital Dealer was so successful for me that I still don't have a voice, and that shit ended on Thursday.
I thought it was great.
Kramer is the general manager at Germain Toyota, Naples, Florida, pumping out 500-600 cars a month, and I'm just grateful you took the time to be here. Brian, did you attend Digital Dealer?
I did.
Okay, well, that's where we're heading next.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it had a lot more energy, and I don't know if it was all just like pent up like a slingshot from all the
right. Somebody asked me the other day, how did all the speakers do well? And I said, I don't know what happened, but everybody was on fire. Like the enthusiasm that was pouring out was crazy. Glenn Lundy, David Villa, and Alex Flores did the best keynote that I have seen in a really long time because it was so full of energy. I left there like, amen, I'm inspired. Let's do this. It was so good.
I'll tell you,
Digital Dealer normally isn't like that.
Yeah, normally it's not.
Right.
I started writing for Digital Dealer magazine again. And, I wrote for Digital Dealer magazine for 14 years. I just started writing back for them again. And I am really excited that Digital Dealer was as well. We didn't expect it to be really well attended. I mean, it's not going to be the 2,000 people they had a couple years ago, but that'll build back up. I believe that.
I got to imagine it was close to that this last time. I mean,
I was just getting ready to say, you guys that went, what did you guys think as far as the attendance? I mean, obviously it's hard to get a good idea, but you can tell in the keynote hall how the attendance is, correct? Isn't that usually a good indication?
Usually the first day is the best indication of what attendance is like. The second day at Digital Dealer, I think, is usually an even better indicator of how well the show is going because you lose some of the people the second day in the keynotes. Yeah. And you have the vendors doing their time of everybody's walking past and coming in. So it's going to be less vendors and more attendees. But the second day was a little lighter than the first, but the attendance was I was impressed by the attendance in terms of dealers and vendors, and people that were together. Yeah, much more than I expected too. Yeah,
a lot more than I expected. Hey, Hannah Lifson just showed up. Fantastic.
Oh, and Denise and Anthony are on too. That's awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
Hey, Hannah, if you have a camera, I'll put you on. Just let me know if you got a webcam. I'll put you on broadcast.
Now,
Come
all right,
on, Hannah.
Yeah, that's a rare invite. You should join us.
now, Brian, Bobby, now you guys, do you guys think that this is a good indication, the way that Digital Dealer turned out as far as not only the attendees, the content? Do you think this is a good prerequisite of what the conferences the rest of the year are going to look like? Like Vegas, obviously Digital Dealer in Vegas will be October or whatever the date is.
Yes and no. I think part of the increase in the attendance is that and again, let's not make this political, but part of the attendance lift was mask mandate lifts and Floridian craziness and people missing each other and feeling comfortable enough to attend. I think for me, I had zero intention of attending until last week, 2 days before I got on a plane, was when I felt comfortable doing it. So yes, I do think that there will be a high level of attendance going forward, especially for the people who weren't yet comfortable, but also because the content was amazing at this conference, and that is not always the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we all got forced to reboot, not just in our day-to-day operations. Mm-hmm. And I didn't attend, but I actually helped one of our marketing team members. It was her first time. I had a conflict, so I didn't attend the actual conference, but going through the actual sessions to help her pick which one she should attend. Lots of great new topics. Honestly, though, there were a couple of things in there that I thought were incredibly redundant.
Okay, there we go. Okay, here we go.
But we know I'm going to tell the truth. No sugarcoating here. There were
I probably skipped those sessions.
Digital retailing sessions, like how should you do a process? And it's just retailing. Just take care of your customers. Do we really need 6 different people to stand up and tell us to take care of our customers? Right. Where's the real value in that? So, and then there was AI was the buzzword.
Wait a second. The truth of the matter is, I have talked to a lot of people that attended Digital Dealer. I've heard the complaints and I've heard the praises. Now, the complaints I heard, number one, there was too much pitching on stage. It was the vendors were not disciplined. The vendors were basically some of them were doing sales pitches. Brian, did you experience that?
I did.
You did. Okay, so it was an infomercial for their company. It wasn't something that benefited the people.
I didn't see it in the keynotes. I saw it in the breakout sessions.
Right. The keynotes were spectacular.
The keynotes I heard were really, really good, but I heard that there was too much pitching and they didn't police it well enough as far as content. The second thing I heard, that a lot of the speakers weren't qualified to be on the breakouts.
I think there was a lack of speakers that applied to speak, because I know I was asked to speak, and because I didn't think I would attend, I didn't want to commit. And I know that a lot of people experienced that as well, and then ended up attending last minute. So I don't know if that played a role in it, or if the desire for new speakers played a role in it as well.
Well, they were bragging about all the new speakers. Now, once upon a time, I sat on the Digital Dealer speaker evaluation board. I do not anymore, so I want to just give that disclaimer. I mean, we used to have a very rigid process in which these applications were evaluated and decided. And it's like I was teasing Patrick about, sometimes the networking does happen outside of the session room. That's how I got invited to speak, because I was that annoying person raising their hand in the session, asking a million questions.
Shocker,
and
right?
Everybody came up to me in the hallway afterwards, and I gave my own little, they're like, you should probably just get on stage.
Let me ask Brian a question.
Yeah.
Brian, what's your biggest praise? What's your biggest complaint
about the session?
Yeah,
I would say
about Digital Dealer.
I think the coolest thing was, in terms of just content, there's nothing new, and there's no new technology anymore. There was an AR, VR, augmented reality, but you can't buy any more technology than we've already bought. I mean, really, right. It's about reducing the tech stack and trying to do an elimination more of efficiency of things, right? But there was a lot of redundancy on stuff we've seen regurgitated year in and year out, to everybody's point. But I would say that some of the cool stuff is getting back to, I felt like the old car business when Liza Borges got up and told the story of overcoming adversity.
I love
and
that.
It was more inspirational and motivational. And it kind of just got you back to the human element of this business. And that's not just all technology and all, even though it's Digital Dealer, but just the Alex Flores, the Glenn Lundy,
they killed it.
Ben Stock. I mean, it was, but Liza Borges specifically, I'll never forget that.
She did so great. I love her to pieces in general. She's a great human. She's Liza is somebody that we've invited regularly with women in automotive, and we have our live conference coming up in December. But I don't say that to say that. I say it because one of the things I love about it and have since day one is it is human. It is how do you lead, how to be a good leader, how to be good in what you're already doing, how to improve what you already have. And here's the idea: it is not a pitch of you could do this, this, and this. It is true leadership skills, and you don't find that at a lot of conferences. Jim, you've hosted great leadership classes several times. Frank Lopez stood on your stage and did an awesome Why Buy seminar many times and killed it. Those to me are the best sessions, no matter what position that you're in. And you're right, Brian. Like the human capital in that is amazing. Liza is so passionate and so genuine. She did an excellent job on stage.
No, the hair on my arms was standing straight up. It was awesome.
Yep. One thing, when 3 or 4 years ago, when I was on the main stage, I was the opening speaker, and I did a session called 20 things a general manager needs to do every week. That session has reverberated around. 3 years later, it's still getting more hits than anything I've ever done. And I'm looking for that kind of content out of other speakers right now. And
that was in Tampa as well.
That was in Tampa.
Yep. I remember that session.
Yeah, that session is still reverberating around. People are still, getting that session. Well, Brian, you told us your biggest compliment. What if you had a complaint? What would it be? What would be something that could have been done much better?
I would say maybe the distribution of the rooms. There was some rooms were packed and sold out. You'd have 2 rooms that were at full capacity, and then you'd have other rooms that had like 2 or 3 people in them.
Yeah.
Well, you can't really make people go to see a session.
Right.
No, but ahead of time if somebody's going to at least maybe move the agenda around, or because there were some things that I wanted to see where there was like 3 people stacked at the exact same time, and then an hour and a half of other ones that I wasn't as interested in.
Don't put the well-known speakers at the same time.
The distribution of content with conflicting content at the same time was poorly done, and I've heard that over and over again. Now, and I'm friendly with Digital Dealer. I love Digital Dealer. Hello, Nick Wood.
Right, and who doesn't love Melissa and Alyssa and Saray? Like, how could you not?
And I'm trying to pick something out because overall, it exceeded my expectations. I didn't really expect much after the last one, which was lackluster, not because of them, because just nobody showed up, right? And I didn't expect what happened to happen.
One of the things that we do at every conference before, Jennifer and I both, and we've always offered this at no obligation to anybody, is if we're coming into a conference, we will sit down with somebody, no matter your position, no matter your store, and go through the entire agenda and ask you, what are you trying to accomplish? And go through each one of the classes and help you set a schedule that actually fits the track that you're trying to go through. We've been doing that for people for years. But we do that because they all fall at the same time. And interestingly enough, and like Jennifer said, we used to both be on the board for this, and we're not anymore. So I don't know if they still do this, but part of the speaker selection used to be 2 videos that were attached. One was one to sell your session, and one was a genuine one about what it was about. If Digital Dealer would put those into the app, into the stuff, people could see if the speaker had the type of charisma or relatability on the topic that they were actually looking for. And I think some of the new speakers would get a way bigger attendance, because some of the new speakers did a great job, but they didn't have an audience because people didn't know
who they were.
Right.
I'm going to say something about that, Bobby. Some of the speakers shouldn't have been on the stage at all.
I agree.
In the breakouts, they shouldn't have been there. They shouldn't have been passed. And if they, the idea that we have to have that many sessions.
It was a lot. I was so surprised going through the book.
They could do a lot better with less sessions and better quality on the sessions they have. Where a Brian Kramer doesn't have to waste his time with 3 concurrent sessions that are the high content sessions.
Yeah.
That make good sense?
And what I've always liked about, again, while your conferences were always a little bit smaller, obviously a little bit more intimate, I always felt that you did a wonderful job of not stacking the same kind of content with the speakers that you're bringing on board.
Because he won't let you do one more of the same piece of content ever in a conference. But for Digital Dealer, one of the things that I've always thought they should do is instead of having like these kind of class schedules, why isn't a track series involved? We do that in WIA.
Yes.
I want to see
Yes.
beginner, intermediate,
Yes.
and advanced level track series
Yes.
by position in the store, and not title, true position. Are you focused on sales? Are you focused on fixed ops? Are you focused on marketing? Are you focused on BDC? Here's a beginner, intermediate, and advanced level track for you. Let's not waste your time.
But they used to do that, remember? I know when I
Yeah.
first started going to conferences, they did. Like, I got pulled into it. I remember the very first thing. It was like, here was your track, internet manager or
Yep.
CRM or marketing or whatever. And I think that was fantastic. But ultimately, and I guess Tampa might be the magic, because the first time I ever actually spoke on a stage was at Tampa. And I remember I made the promotional video about to conference or not to conference. And it's a costly expense for dealers. And it's a 6-year-old video, but it's still so true.
Yeah, but how to sell it.
You have to decide what you're going to learn.
Right.
Why are you spending the money if you don't know? And I agree, having the tracks makes it so much easier to identify where you would be. And if you guys are listening, Digital Dealer, why did you stop? That was great.
Right. I was going to say the first Digital Dealer I ever attended it had a track. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, here's what, if this is what you're interested in, these are the speaking sessions.
The agenda was color coded. Remember?
Yes.
All the sessions that were in that track.
And it made my day so easy because I knew what I was doing. I didn't have to like search around and go, shoot, which one do I want to check next? It was like, oh, well, I know exactly where I'm going next.
Right. And I know what I want to see.
Brian, did you speak?
I did.
Yeah. What was your subject?
It was how Carvana is similar to the Nazis.
Right. Yeah.
I'm so pissed that I missed that session. I would have actually wanted to go.
I promoted that all over my social media.
Oh my goodness.
I saw that and I said, I got to help promote that one. I reposted you every chance I got on that one.
Yeah, I was
Was
building a relationship with a potential client, so I couldn't come, but I heard it was great.
So how was the attendance in your session, Brian?
It was over capacity. They turned away some of my Toyota friends that drove up from Sarasota and Tampa that were 3 minutes late.
Is this the first time you spoke there, Brian?
It is.
So the next time you speak there, we don't allow stuff like that when we're speakers. The people we invite into our class come in and somebody gets them a chair or we get them a chair. We don't let people get kicked out of our session, so don't let them do that to you again.
Okay.
You know, I was the keynote speaker.
And I've never done it, so I didn't know.
No, I know. That's why I'm telling you. It sounded harsh because my voice is gone. Otherwise, I would be all sweet about it. But yeah. Hence I'm drinking organic throat coat tea right now, right? Like it's bad. But I mean that in the best way because
and I should have filmed it too because I didn't know that either. There's
having somebody stream it for you. But they will also one thing they also used to do was post conference surveys.
Yes.
To ask dealers and ask us to say, okay, did you enjoy this? What would you recommend? And to Brian's point about the distribution, and especially with so many new speakers, they don't know what kind of audience it's going to draw. Whereas, so the next time, Brian, since you had standing room only and they kicked people out, when you go to apply to speak the next time, I bet they give you a bigger room.
You get a bigger room.
Sometimes the topic generates a bigger room. You remember the time I got stuck on keynote stage and didn't even know because
didn't know what was going to happen? Yeah.
I show up to find my room and I'm like,
all of a sudden we had to worry about things like, can you see up my skirt? Because I'm on an elevated stage. Now these are usually women problems at a conference, but this does happen. It's happened to me.
Yeah, they wanted a front row seat for that one.
I borrowed a shirt from Big Tom when it happened to be like, Big Tom, give me your shirt. I had to go on stage in a giant 3X flannel looking thing and what looked like a lingerie dress because that was not the viewpoint it was supposed to be.
Oh, man.
But sometimes the topics do generate that, not just the speakers. And I think that is really important. And I don't know, reading the descriptions and the topics, just going through helping one of my team members, I was like.
And Jennifer, to your point, we had 60 people in that are reserved for my session the day before, the day of. So I had no idea what was going to happen, but there was so many other people like that hadn't spoken before that it was hit or miss. And I don't know that Digital Dealer, there's any way they could have predicted any of that. Because I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yes and no, because what they used to do, what they used to do is this. They used to pair a speaker who had been doing this before with one of you. And how that happened wasn't an official meeting. It was, you're going to meet up with so-and-so at the party, which is my comment about crap, that night, and you're going to bond. And then we would have said things to you like, every one of us carries organic throat coat to the conference and vitamin B, because if you're speaking second date, you're going to need it.
That's not true. She just means everybody gets it from me.
Well, I order my own now, so it's a thing.
Jennifer's the supplier.
Yeah, she's our dealer. Oh my gosh, can I tell something funny? Let me just tell a quick funny story. Swear to God, it'll take 2 seconds. So Jennifer got me hooked on vitamin B super complex. And when we are at time release, when we are at conferences, she would always be handing it out. Now we both carry it and it's a whole thing, right? So we go to give them to other people or speakers and they're like, no. Well, they're drinking a Monster, put formaldehyde in their body, won't take a vitamin, right? So we give it to this kid. Fast forward to one of Jim's to Battle Plan. We were Battle Plan, right?
Yeah.
He's in the front row. He calls her out like this, right? Come here. Hey, you know that stuff you gave me last time? You got any of that? It's a drug deal. We have compressed cocaine. I'm right. You know that was vitamin B, right?
You can go to GNC and buy
just give me a handoff at the end of the stage.
We gave it to him.
Let me get a word in here a second. Okay. When I was the keynote speaker at Digital Dealer 2, I didn't attend Digital Dealer 1. That was in Nashville. Digital Dealer 2 was in Las Vegas, Caesar's Palace. And I was I was the opening keynote speaker.
What year was that, Jim?
Somebody Google it.
2000. No. Before that.
Chelsea, will you please Google it and post it in the comments?
Thanks, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Yeah, I forget. But anyway, I was the opening keynote speaker. And we had, and I'm answering Jennifer's question, I was doing breakout sessions for general managers and dealers only.
Mm-hmm.
I remember.
I was doing sessions for dealers and general managers only. And then I was doing the other version of that same seminar for other people.
Right.
So I had two
an audience appropriate version.
Right. I had an audience appropriate version, one for decision makers, dealers, leaders. And they don't have those tracks anymore or levels of presentation. So would that be welcome?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome. And think about for a minute too, and I apologize for my interrupt. I'm on a separate line and it's causing a delay with the Zoom, but I interrupt usually anyways, but this is bad. I apologize. But it used to even be that a speaker had to be qualified to engage the audience by first asking what their audience was and then on the fly correcting it. I spoke in Canada at several conferences and I was over advanced on what I was going to talk about. And when I asked the audience in the beginning who I had in my audience, I had to tell them, this isn't because I care if you're a decision maker, but I'm not going to waste your time in this class. I had to fully adjust a presentation, shut the laptop down, and present. And that is a learned behavior, but nobody's prepping new people for that at all to know that it could even be a thing.
Well, okay,
I never even thought that thought until you just said that.
Right.
What is that, Brian?
I got your back, my friend.
What is that, Brian?
No, I hadn't even thought that thought until she just said that. I will say this: after the session or whatever, Frank Lopes and Jason Rice did pull me aside and they said, they said, here, I would do this tweak. You got to have somebody in the audience that's going to stir things up, that's going to ask questions, because once the one person asks it, everybody else asks it. Just some basic fundamentals, I guess, just like selling a car,
Things you wouldn't know though.
Well, yeah. and you don't have to have someone in the audience. You just ask them first. And I think, to Bobby's point in knowing your audience, it is just like sales, right? Yep. And through growing my career, I've said it, even when you leave sales, you're still selling something. If you're the sales manager, you're selling to them why they want to do it. And it's the same thing when you're in front of any audience. And I think that with Digital Dealer and the new, because I did hear the feedback, there were so many new speakers this year. It's so awesome to have you on the Dog Pound today, so you can kind of tell us that perspective as a new speaker. Unfortunately, I think some of us, and I have, of course, with, going through everything with my mom before Jim's cancer came on, I really had stepped back from the speaking circuit to take care of, family stuff. So I think even with that, we get a little bit jaded and we don't think about it. Like, you just ask, who do you have? So I know where to ask the questions. So if I say, by a show of hands, how many internet directors do I have? How many general managers? How many dealer principals? I'm visually looking in my head so that I know when I get to this part and I need to engage with a GM, and a GM is going to really get more value from that section. That's where I'm looking. And I'm going to ask somebody who told me they were a GM, have you ever hired somebody because of this? And likely they're going to say yes, because we all do it, and so on and so forth. But that also gives you that engagement, so you know who to ask. Even if you don't have somebody that can start asking questions, just ask them, the audience, get them engaged.
I have a quick question for the three of y'all Jim, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So do you guys, as professional speakers, basically, because that's what the three of you guys are. You guys are year in and year out, you guys are professionally on stage speaking. Do you guys prefer to have an audience that's very engaging, asking questions, or do you want to get through your content and then have questions at the end?
I want the minute that you have, and I tell every training class this, everybody has stand on stage, the minute you don't agree with me, or you want to challenge something, or you have a question, I want to know right then in the raw, because one of us is going to change our mind before we leave. It's going to be me or you, and I'm okay with it either way.
Okay, questions. Yeah,
but I want it then.
That is so great a conversation, because I was the keynote speaker and have been the keynote speaker for 98 state conventions. And I don't mean I did a breakout. I was the opening keynote speaker. Everybody says they do a keynote. There's only one keynote speaker at any convention. I was the opening keynote speaker at 98 state dealer conventions. New York, I did maybe 6 or 7 times. New Jersey, some of my Dallas, And one thing, I always walked out in the audience at the end of my, I was on for an hour and a half. I always did an hour and a half keynote. Yeah. I would do 45 minutes of speaking, and then I would walk out into the audience with my microphone and face to face ask questions in the audience. And I only had one speech. It was called The Shape of Things to Come, and it changed as future changed. Yeah. So it was always called The Shape of Things to Come. That was my keynote speaker for dealer associations. Yep. And always took, I don't see speakers brave enough to walk out in the audience today. I mean, they're all stage.
Brian Benstock did.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I like to dance out into the audience,
Right. You walk out in the audience, see so many people lack the basic speaking skills. I was fortunate enough to have been a DJ, and then I am a professional speaker, and I've studied the art of speaking, and there's a whole lot that goes into speaking that,
yes, there is.
And admittedly, speakers at a conference are mostly amateurs.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And
you taught me that when I was on stage for the 126th time. Bobby, slow down, stop pacing, because I'm always moving around. You gave me constructive, good feedback after all of those presentations, and a handful of other people did too. But most were afraid to say it, like it was going to be offensive or something. But we need that feedback.
I always coached my speakers in my conferences.
Yep.
Like some people are what I call choppers.
I feel like I'm a chopper.
You know who's a chopper? The My Pillow guy. Ever watch the My Pillow guy?
Oh gosh, yes.
Hi, Mike Lindell.
I'm just not even going to do it.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
And other people are in your face. They walk to the front of the stage and they walk back.
Well,
I will say that the audience was very engaged in all of the sessions. People were taking notes. I think it was an implementation and execution, trying to figure out actually how to do whatever he was saying.
Right.
Yeah. That was my first topic, Brian. That was the first time I ever spoke. It was in Tampa 6 years ago. And this kind of answers Patrick's question as well, because when I was asked to speak, I thought, what value do I bring? Like, who am I? Like, I'm just out here selling cars, like doing my thing. And, but to the point of that engagement, and the topic was, how to create buy-in in your dealership, right? You're here at Digital Dealer, you're learning things. How do you make them come to life? Because what type of money are we investing, right? The ticket, the airfare, the hotel.
The time away from the store.
If we can't execute on it. So my whole session, the very first time, because I'm like, this is where I think everything breaks down with conferences, as we're talking about choppers. Everything breaks down because you go and it's like, all this inundation of these ideas and this energy and this excitement, and then it falls flat when you get back to the store. That's why I always advocate, know why you're going.
Yep.
Pick what it is you're looking to improve, and then have a plan to execute.
I was going to say, and then as Jim always says, Jim says this, I mean, I've heard this out of Jim's mouth at conferences more times than probably anything else. If you do not have a plan to implement the things you've learned within 72 hours, you've basically
wasted your time.
You've wasted it.
That's where the networking come in, though, because all those people who took notes and actually went back with a plan, they're going to hit roadblocks. And they don't have that information from the 1 hour session they were in, but they darn sure would have if they would have been networking that night and said, hey, I saw this great session today and here's that. And somebody would have went, oh, you know what? I've tried that and here was my roadblock, but here's how we solved it. Oh, here's my number. Let's change cards. I hate that about the new digital dealer ownership, that they canceled all the parties and small networking events in the beginning. And not because I want to be out being a great partier. I mean, that's part of it.
Yes, you do. Yes,
you're right. I want to throw the parties. But most of it is because that part is now lost. They separated this year. They did the vendor exhibitor party the first night, then the dealer party. Dealers were walking up lying to get badges to get their vendors in to this party they couldn't go to. And what they missed with this is that if they would have said, okay, this badge is vendor and they don't get a bunch of drinks or whatever, and this is dealer, they missed the cross networking, the actual collaboration that puts dealers on advisory boards and that puts plans in action. That is how I got to where I am, is those networking events and those relationships that I built. And it's shameful to take that away over dollars when it doesn't make sense.
Right.
I will say that there was an American Social Paul Daly put together, and I don't know who was if it was Digital Dealer, if it was him, but that party was electric.
It was electric. And, over half of the vendors in that room that were being electric stole the badges because we had to send dealers up to get the badges to get in. I didn't have to do that, but it happened.
Do you recall?
Did they have a round table this time, guys?
Not they had a couple loose ones, but not the way that it used to be. No,
I haven't seen.
Jim, that's why I love your events.
That's what I was going to say. I very rarely see a good round table outside of gyms. Very rarely.
There's a lot of good ones that are put together by the attendees at an event.
Women in automotive had good round tables.
One of the things I would like to see is I always had a live band for the cocktail reception.
Yes, you did.
I mean, we always had a live band for 3 hours. Local Florida band. Remember the band Foreplay?
Foreplay. Yeah, I've got a great video of you and Debbie out dancing to one, and Jennifer singing.
Oh, that was the karaoke one. I wasn't there for the.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I've got a great video of you and Debbie out dancing to one, and Jennifer singing.
Who's with
us? Hannah, you got to turn off your Facebook. It's echoing. Oh, that's right. I've got a video.
There you go.
There you go.
How's it going, guys?
Lifson from Friendemic.
Hey, everybody.
Nice to see you, Hannah.
Welcome.
I know, it's so good to see you guys. I saw you chatting about, events, and if anybody knows me about networking or being there, I love it. I've been talking about it all morning, in a couple sidebars, and I was like, let me just jump right in there.
Well, we're glad to have you. That's for sure.
Just anybody on this show. You understand that, do you? I mean, you are a big shot. You wouldn't even be on this stage.
Jim, he's not lying.
He's too sweet.
It's harder to get vetted for something of Jim's than it is to get in the CIA, my friend. No joke.
Now that you're in the dog posse, tell me what was good, what was bad, what was pleasant, what was unpleasant. Where did they hit? Where did they miss? What was your digital dealer? Tell me.
Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, for me personally, I hadn't left the city limits of Chicago in 18 months. So I have been on full lockdown. I know. And if you guys know me, I used to spend about 90% of my time on a plane, 50 flights plus a year, trying to visit, make connections. I love networking, just like everybody on this call. So when I got the opportunity, Friendemic was like, hey, we're not going to go in official capacity, but would you be interested? I was like, yes, please sign me up. Like, I have to get back out and, see my people. And honestly, the second that I got there, I was tapping in a few minutes late, but
my people.
Tampa was the perfect venue for it, kind of unlike Vegas, where you get there and you're competing with Celine Dion or like the nightclub. In Tampa, it's
just Vegas in general.
You're just in Tampa. There were 3 venues. We were all going to be at the same spot. So I had an opportunity to not only connect with everybody that I really wanted to, friends, clients, but there was a great opportunity to meet new prospects because they were all in the same place. It's not like one vendor could take them out somewhere. We're all going to American Social, and we're doing it.
That's the only place we're going.
And we're going 3 nights in a row. So was it slightly repetitive in, regards to a venue or like an atmosphere? Potentially. But were the conversations and the people there totally made up for that? I was able to connect with every single person on my hit list or checklist, and it was really easy. The showroom floor was pretty well spread out. I don't know if that's because there weren't a ton of vendors, or
the floor plan was good. It was an easy flow.
The floor plan had a really beautiful flow to it. I thought the sessions in general were well coordinated. There was a couple hiccups where I'm like, all right, do I go to Kevin Fry's session or do I go to, Greg Gifford's session?
Right.
So, yeah, just like you guys were talking about with the different tracks. I'm like, I love that idea where it's like, okay, if I'm into SEO and I'm only being sent here for SEO, I'm just going to sit in this room with like-minded people so that I can kind of network with this crew. On the vendor side, I did that a little bit. I knew George Nini was there, really big into Google My Business, which is one of Friendemic's big business initiatives this year. So I definitely went to his session. He came to mine so that we could kind of just take a peek into.
Oh, you were a speaker. I didn't realize you spoke.
No, excuse me. No, I was not a speaker. Brent Albrecht, our VP of Business Development was, and he was speaking on Google My Business as well. Jim, I don't speak at these things. I try to stay on the sidelines.
I always tried to get you on the stage, and you never would do it.
I know. I'm great at the pictures. I love the interviews. But as far as going up on front of the stage, somebody else in the company can do that.
Can I ask you this question? Because hopefully there are a lot of potential speakers watching this. And I think that it's sharing your knowledge is it's a thing for me. It's really important. So why I've met you so many times, why do you avoid it? Why would you not? What would it take to get you on stage? Because I think if people, I know that was my struggle. What am I going to talk about? What does anybody want to listen to me talk about for 50 minutes in a row?
Right.
So for you, what is that stumbling block? Because I think if we're going to get to better content, there are some people we need to break out of shells. Once upon a time, I went to a conference, I went back up to my room and I worked on spreadsheets.
Oh, no.
Great business strategy is not good for whatever. It takes sometimes getting out of that shell. So if we were going to, Hannah, based off of you, what's preventing you from doing it?
In general, I don't even really mind public speaking. Just typically at my companies, I'm reporting right into the board of directors, I'm reporting right into the CEO. And they definitely have a lot of star power and kind of draw a crowd of their own. Maybe I could do that, but there's always been somebody on my ticket that's been so phenomenal. They're the person that I've always loved to promote and kind of push forward, as well as they're always very big seasoned veterans. So just keeping them connected to the company for branding. You guys know I'm in marketing. So for branding and awareness, there's definitely that piece that I love to promote and be able to associate my name with this awesome person that I get to work for.
And what else she's trying to say, and she's too polite to say, does egos get in the way?
No,
right?
No, not at all. I would double back on that one.
Okay, double back.
I would say it's definitely not an ego thing at any of the companies I've worked for. It's just they typically have such great brand recognition. It's whenever I can promote them, I love to. So maybe one day if I could get a couple people on a ticket or a ballot for a automotive conference, then potentially I would. But normally it's like, all right,
April Simmons says you're a rock star. Come on now.
Take it.
April Simmons herself is a rock star.
Okay, let's change the subject just a little bit now.
Sure.
Okay.
Jim, can I say something real quick? Because I think Hannah makes an excellent point.
You can say something anytime you want to. What you got, big guy?
Because I heard that I don't know how many different times when Hannah was saying that she's been in Chicago and everybody was inside. And I met an amazing young lady from Washington State who was just like beaming. She was just so excited to be out of her house. And a bunch of people in California that have just been dying, Oregon, that have been trapped for 12 months or whatever in certain states that are more restrictive on the laws than Florida is. And the energy that was resonating from all of those people was contagious. And I think that's part of what was causing all that buzz.
I hugged more people in a 2-day period than I have in a year and a half, and I'm an overzealous hugger with personal space issues. So it was nice.
And I don't even like hugging people. I'm normally the person that does the side hug, and I was like, all right, full bear, everybody come in. It was just
full bear. Okay.
It was really exciting. It was so great to reconnect.
Well, I'll tell you, honest to goodness, one thing that I heard a lot was the plethora. I learned that from Three Amigos. The plethora of breakouts was overwhelming. If I had a criticism that I have heard people say it different ways, was there was too many breakouts, far too many breakouts. And when Mike Roscoe originated Digital Dealer back in the early 2000s, late 19s, when he originated that, it was to accommodate more revenue because they had more vendors that wanted to be on stage. So they had more breakouts. But now one of the complaints I'm hearing is that vendors are running Digital Dealer. And they're not saying they're vendors, but they're all of a sudden they've taken over Digital Dealer and they're letting them do it. I've heard that complaint any number of times. What's your thoughts, Brian?
I personally didn't. I mean, there was a couple of small breakouts where there would be this plug, and they're thinking, well, that has nothing to do with what the overarching topic of that session is. But it wasn't obtrusive, and I would say that overall, the positive energy and the positive vibe. If somebody's they're pitching the exhibition hall. Obviously, there's things all over every single session that say pitch free zone. If you see pitching text or call,
let us know, hit this button or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if something changed with that.
With my internet battle plans, I used to tell the vendors to pitch.
Yeah.
I used to say, look, we're salespeople. What do you think the hell we're doing up here? Just don't overdo it. And I would announce that to the audience. My vendors on stage are going to pitch. We're going to
help you solve a problem and know where to go to solve it.
Yep.
Yeah, and we had that was a part of the agenda. Do you recall that, Jennifer?
I do. And I love it. And I think the difference in that is that while you allowed pitching, you demanded value. And unfortunately, what we see a lot of times is, and I could tell, and I told my team as I was helping them pick out stuff before they went, I'm like, that one's going to be a pitch. I can tell by how it's written. So if you're trying to formulate a topic just to fit around being able to do a pitch versus actually showing the value that you provide, like just show the value. I mean, if you say, hey, here's what we do and it's awesome and you should contact us, that's one thing versus making this whole phony baloney thing that, you wrote a session and I thought it was going to be a great session based off of how it's in the agenda. And then I go and I had to give up going to something that would have been value for a veiled pitch. Like, I don't know.
A lot of veiled pitches, and everybody in the world is claiming they have artificial intelligence, and nobody.
Why was that for 3 years? This has been a buzzword.
So, I talked to Mike Phillips about this, and I asked him. I said, Mike, him and I talk on a regular basis. I said, what were the buzzwords this year? Accountability, customer experience. You know what I mean? Attribution. Those were all huge buzzwords for years and years. And he was like, "Man, I swear, if I hear somebody say artificial intelligence again, I'm gonna fall over. Because it was just.
But also, how dynamic and how exciting can artificial intelligence presentations be? I mean, unless you bring a robot in,
Or if you brought Elon Musk in, I'd be excited about that.
I want to change the subject on us, guys, so everybody sit tight a second. Now, we've talked about the pros and cons of Digital Dealer, and I'm in love with Digital Dealer. I mean, I was there at the beginning. I'm here with it right now, and I still think but we beat this to death. Now we've got other conferences coming up, and Women in Automotive is coming up.
Yes, December.
Is driving sales still happening?
It is.
Yeah.
I never was a fan of driving sales. I always thought that was just a big vendor party. Then there's that wine tasting thing out in California. They give each other glass trophies and charge each other a bunch of money. I don't know what that is, but what about future conferences?
I feel like that was just the tipping point for at least people to go outside. That it was almost like it's safe to go in the water now. Enjoy.
Right. Everybody waited there 15 minutes after eating. Now they can go swimming.
Yeah. They inserted AI into the water and the sharks have cleared. Now we can all.
Right.
Yeah. So I know that I didn't attend the conference in Tampa this month, but I am planning on attending Vegas in October. Fingers crossed that nothing's going insane and I don't lose my mind planning this wedding. But I feel like, I think Vegas is always a better turnout. And in October, I really feel like everyone will kind of be out. And so we'll get the great quality, the great engagement, the great networking. So I know that's my plan, except that I heard about some awesome Carolina Dealer Association that I think I'm going to join one of my dealer principal friends at. So possibly going to do that.
What, Tracy Myers deal?
Yeah, well, Tracy Myers has got a great piggyback on the CIADA conference this year. So same type of thing, and they're saying that I don't remember what it's called. Unfair
advantage.
Unfair advantage.
They're going to give the dealers continuing education credit for going to his mastermind stuff.
Nice.
So he's got a really great setup this year for it. And, I've been going back and forth, Jim, whether I start with a franchise or start with a used car lot. So I figure it would be a good one for me to pick up and attend that I wouldn't normally think about.
Yeah, the only one I'm doing this year is GIADA. I was just recently invited to sit on the board for Georgia Independent Automotive Dealers Association. That's the only one that I'm doing this year. I wanted to go to Vegas in October, but it doesn't look like it's going to line up for me.
How much inventory do you have, big boy?
Actually, I'm full. I'm at our Marietta store, which is on Cobb Parkway, right by Dobbins Air Force Base. And for months and months, this store only carried. We were at like 75 cars. I couldn't break 80. I've got 135 cars out here. Across the group, we're probably close to 800, 900 across the five.
What's your average dollar in stock?
At this store is about 35 grand. Our flagship store is 65. So majority, if I ran it across the group, is probably going to be in the low to mid 40s. Is our average.
You're selling a lot of Highlines.
Highlines. They just loaded up at our other store. I now have 10 cars or more that are 250 grand or higher. Cool. And you know what's crazy is I don't know where these people get all this money. But these cars fly out of here. I had 5 Lamborghini. Listen, I had 5 Lamborghini Euros SUVs 2 weeks ago. I have 1.
Yeah. Well, it's because
Biden just printed another how many billions of dollars? 21% of the money that's in the United States is less than 12 months old.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's coming from everywhere.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to believe it. I got a $4,000 check from Joe Biden this week. I got a $4,000 check. Well, $3,800 check from Joe Biden this week.
Since you make over 400 grand, you are going to have to pay taxes.
Boys and girls, are we going to do politics on this show when we have a multiple audience? Let's not do it.
No, we're not doing politics. I'm just saying, I got what do they call it?
Just commenting on the excess cash that's in the market these days. Even he was able
Jim
to get
does not need your help right now.
Okay. No. Okay, so Brian, how's inventory?
We've got 22 new on the ground.
Shit.
And we've got 189 used as of yesterday. So we're, not low days in stock. It just is what it is. I mean, it's.
Hey, Brian. Now, Brian, are you guys with Toyota and the non-domestic brands? Because everything I read about with the chip shortage seems like it's the domestic brands that are suffering the most. Are you guys dealing with that also? And when do you think that relief is going to come on the Toyota side for you guys, Toyota, Lexus?
So it seems like it's already starting to loosen up. The crazy thing is it's so deceiving because we're up 20-something% year over year.
Right.
So the fact that there's no new car inventory on the ground, and everybody starts thinking, the customers come in, I'm almost sympathetic. I'm sorry about things being so bad. It's obviously not, but because there's like a slingshot of pent up demand, it's almost causing a frenzy. It's like refrigerators and appliances and everything else in between. It's making the customers want them more. The crazier thing, and I talked about it in my presentation, is the Hyundais, the Kias, the Ford F-150s. I've got a Silverado that I just paid $2,000 below MSRP on a 2019 Silverado. And the last two we've sold for $3,000 or $4,000 over MSRP. Had a Hyundai Palisade that I saw on Wendell's used car manager group, and somebody was putting $2,000 or $3,000 for MSRP in a year-old 2020 Palisade, and everybody's going, "What? When's this insanity going to stop?" And then you got another
pencils right now.
Listen, as a used car guy, that makes my head hurt.
Yeah.
But they sold it for $4,000 more after putting all that money in it.
Exactly. It is what it is, and I was just checking our inventory levels as a group to see, compared to where we're normally sitting. We have
30 stores. Where's your average inventory in the lot?
So it's only 15 rooftops, multiple brands, but we're normally at like close to 2,000. We got about 700 new cars, 820 used cars. That's it. So it definitely is
rooftops.
Yeah, for 15 rooftops. But I still have some aged units. It was funny. We just had our used car meeting yesterday, and the GSM at Porsche was laughing. He goes, this is what it's like in Porsche land all the time, right? Waiting for them to actually give up inventory. Welcome to my world, guys. And it definitely is, but we just have to get creative. And if I can't sell new, then I can sell certified pre-owned.
Right.
And I can, knowing, like Brian was just saying about that particular Silverado, I know that they're worth so much more. So it's going to be easier for me to grab those out of my service lane. It's going to be easier for me to grab that because I can step up and get that customer out of it. And heck, maybe if I've given up vehicle exchanges, all I want is acquisition. I don't care. Amen. I don't have any new cars to sell you right now, or I have very limited new cars to sell you. They're turning as fast, right? We're doing reservations on the allocations and doing wish lists on new cars just because somebody wants to put their name on it before it actually gets here on the truck. So we just have to make sure we still have something to sell, to Brian's point, right? Year over year, numbers are higher, grosses are higher. We are not suffering in the actual chips on the board, no matter what the lot looks like. The lot might look a little deceiving, but we're still putting the numbers up. And I think it's important. We're just getting so much more efficient in the turn. And I hope we learn a little something and continue with some of that efficiency, only because thinking about what some of that stuff looks like on the statement sitting when it has its third or fourth birthday.
But don't you think that moving forward, Jen, that it's making us more disciplined as long as we don't forget it?
I think the smart operators, it is. I think there are some people that are still just kind of sitting back and thinking, oh my gosh, this is just perfect. It's just working. Look at this. I don't actually have to do things efficiently. But it is definitely, it's just like when we went through it back in 08, 09. And I think, being in Michigan, and I was in accounting at that time, and I'm sorry you guys have to keep hearing about my accounting days because they're not that exciting, but that was half of my career.
Read Read the text on the bottom of
Oh.
the screen. This is Bruce Hart's, and he's
What's going
That's
ahead?
a great
I was
question.
wondering
Oh my
about
God, that's why the market crashed. Side note for the big
that's
three
the
back in
question
08
I'm
and
looking at
09.
right now.
We overstated residuals in order
Yes.
to sell more new cars. Then when those leases came due for the big three, then the residual was way too high. We got it, and that's why they needed a bailout. It's going to be the same scenario. You are not going to be able to get those customers out, not
Right.
without rolling a
We're
ton of
not doing
negative.
sales. We're doing weddings.
Which is why right now you should
Yes.
be enforcing leasing so hardcore. If you're
Oh,
a customer
boy.
buying a car right now and you don't lease, you're crazy.
As we wind down the show, we could keep this subject going
Right.
for another hour, but I'm going to go to Bobby. Bobby, you're on the board of Women in Automotive, correct?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, when is the Women in Automotive Conference? We still got some time, right?
Yeah, we are so stoked that our first live conference will be back in person in real life in December of this year. Right? We have all the details around the womeninautomotive.com website. Up until then, we're hosting virtual series and a killer mentoring program for men and women to both mentor and be a mentee. But we're super excited to launch everything in December live again.
Now,
Yeah,
Hannah,
thank you
are
for-
you a member of Women in Automotive?
I am in a non-formal fashion. Do I attend all the events? Am I very supportive? I've known Christy for years.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and we appreciate that.
Okay.
I've always loved to take like a little bit of a deeper dive into it. So let's definitely connect after that and see.
Yeah,
see if we can
please,
make that
let's
happen.
do that. Yep.
Okay, as we wind down, this has been one heck of a great dog pound, I'll tell you. Thank you, Brian Kramer, and thank you, Hannah Lifson, for being guests on the show today. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Now, if you want to see some back editions of the Dog Pound, go look at above my head here, www.zieglerondemand.com. Now, remember, Ziegler is Ziegler, I before E, ZieglerOnDemand.com. And you can see all the past editions of the Dog Pound. Don't know what we're going to be talking about next week, but it's going to be irreverent. It's going to be in your face, and we're looking forward to seeing you. Everybody wave at them.